Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, citizens of Crypto Land, welcome back once again to another live AMA with me, TheGobOne, aka Ryan. I have with me this time Stephane Ifrah from Napoleon X. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, and good morning, I think, everyone. If I'm correct, I'm very glad to be here with you, Ryan, today.
Perfect. As you guys know, I always start my AMAs out with my good old TheGobOne disclaimer. I'd like you guys to understand what you're watching before we dig in. So I'm going to read that for you guys now. This is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed or professional financial advisor. I have not received any compensation of any form for this interview. This allows me to maintain integrity and conduct a fair and unbiased review. Any comment or statement on the value of this company's token or its token sale is solely the thoughts of myself. Does not reflect the company's views in any way. Disclaimer down. All right, so welcome, Stephane. I know it was a crazy weekend for you guys with the Miami conference. Your ICO is going on right now, I believe. And so I know you're taking your time out of your busy day to sit here with us and answer what looks to be a lot of good questions from the community.
Yes, thank you once again to be here. Yes, it was a crazy last few days, in fact, because I was in Miami for the end of the last week. We were at the North American Bitcoin conference, which was the biggest show ever I've ever been on crypto. We spent 2 days, pitching day in, day out. And then following that, we had to fly back to France and to concentrate on the ICO, which just opened at noon European time. And it was just 2 or 3 first hours, really crazy, as you can imagine. Lots of traffic. We've never seen that. We've tripled the normal traffic, or the highest traffic that we had until this weekend. And now it's starting to be a little bit quiet, so I'm going to have some time to spend with you guys.
Perfect. All right, before we dig in, I do want to mention to the YouTube viewers here, if you do have a question, please start it with the question all in capitals. That allows our moderators to sort of pick it out and add it to the sheet we have going here so that we can get your question in near the end. If you haven't been on one of my AMAs, I like to sort of walk through the white paper, ask questions as we go along. Then we do community questions at the end, because a lot of times we answer a lot of your guys' questions along the way. Now, one thing I will state, I will not ask questions about when the tokens will be on exchanges. That's not fair for me. That's not fair for Stephane. It's not fair for anybody, and I'll just skip over them, so don't even bother asking. All right. Let's carry on. All right, starting with what I like to always ask, what is Napoleon X? Give me the elevator pitch.
Okay, well, Napoleon X is the first crypto asset manager that is going to specialize in trading bots. Having said that, first it's going to be an asset manager like Fidelity or BlackRock, except it's going to be an asset manager of a new kind. We're going to concentrate on launching funds or investment vehicles that would be denominated in cryptos, that will be sold either to crypto holders, but also to financial institutions that will want to have some exposure to this crypto market. We are going to be a regulated entity in France, and it's very important for us, and especially if we want to target this financial institution, we need to be regulated, because that's part of their due diligence process. And lastly, we're going to focus on trading bots, i.e. we're going to automate all the investment that we're going to do. I've developed more than 20 different trading bots over the last 10 years, both on real assets, but more recently as well on crypto assets. And the idea is to leverage on this research that I have done in order to give some ideas to people that would invest in this investment management company in terms of return, because in the end, that's what's matter. Because as we will go through a little bit later, the token that we have issued will give a right to some kind of revenue coming out of this investment management company.
Perfect. All right. So one thing I like to do is I like to get the viewers an idea of what you kind of are. Is maybe if there are any quote unquote real world not competitors, but similarities or similar projects, and if there's any sort of the same type of thing in the crypto world. So if you have any sort of those, that would allow the viewers to sort of get an idea of more on a high level what you guys are doing.
Yes. So we are in systematic trading and in quantitative trading. In the real world, you can think of Quantopian or eToro, which are two examples of platforms that, let's say, welcome external quantitative strategies, but not always quantitative. And to a certain extent, that's what we were going to propose, even if at the beginning it will be, let's say, a close competition because we were going to propose our own algo. In a second stage, the idea for us is to open up to competition to external traders that might enhance our offer to the potential investors. In the crypto space, you don't have that many competitors per se, but you have these crypto funds that have emerged over the last year or so that are more focused, I would say, on crypto, on trading crypto, whereas we are going to trade both crypto and real assets because we have plenty of strategies there, and because we think as well there is a lot of liquidity. Something I didn't mention before in my, I would say in my pitch, was that we would concentrate on highly liquid strategies for the sake of targeting this financial institution, because when they will enter the market, and they will look for size. They will not look for a small transaction. And you don't find this kind of liquidity everywhere. So in this crypto space, you can think of TAS, for example, or economy.
Okay, yep, I understand. Perfect. Yeah, I just brought up the eToro website to give people an example of the competitors here. So that, I hope you guys understand a little better what we're dealing with here. Now, I always like to get the background of the guy in charge. So kind of walk us through your history and sort of how you evolved into coming to these crypto trading algorithms.
Well, I started my career at BNP Paribas almost 20 years ago. So I'm, I would say, a veteran in the financial industry. I started more in the credit market and then moved on to asset management, where I traded a lot of futures and options for a structured product. And that's where basically I started to develop all my algo. It was too difficult to, let's say, time the market, whether it would go up or go down. So I had to develop my own tools. And these tools, not only was I using them for managing the fund that I was given, but also I was using them for managing my own money. So I really, I would say, committed on this algo by putting a lot of my money on those. And I would say I've done quite well since I've started having this systematic approach.
Yeah,
I have an engineering background.
Just to interrupt you, when I was doing my due diligence, what was the size of the fund you ran at BNP Paribas? Wasn't it like $4 billion?
Yeah, in total, I had $4 billion in my team. I was heading a small team of 3 fund managers, and we had together $4 billion. I had some individual funds that were close to 1 billion each. So I was used to trade, I would say, on a very large scale. So I have an engineering background, so that's why also I'm very familiar with the quantitative approach. And I decided to leave BNP in 2013 because I wanted to have a more entrepreneurial route, which I did. So I took some time off because I needed a rest after the big crisis in 2007 and 2009, where I made some money despite the market going down. And then I moved on to an executive program where I studied the big data, which was of interest to me I would say, to enhance my trading. And then I moved on to more consulting stuff, and then started really this project a little more than a year and a half ago. And we started first in the traditional space by launching another company, which is called Napoleon Capital, so not too far away from Napoleon X, for which we have clients and in which we are selling the very same trading bots that we will put in this project, except that we don't use the same leverage.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, there you go. That's a pretty sturdy background in what you guys are trying to accomplish. So Now this leads right into, let's talk a little bit about the maybe the key team members and the advisors that you guys have on board.
Yes, in terms of key members, you have my two partners in this adventure. So you have Jean-Charles, who worked with me at BNP Paribas in the asset management team, and that's where we met together.
Je regarde. Ok, je joue à moi.
Hold on a sec. I've got a problem with my phone.
Welcome to live streams.
I don't know. Oh, sorry for that.
That's right. That's how people know it's live, right? This is not pre-recorded, guys. Now you know.
No, so Jean-Charles basically used to work with me. He has more, let's say, a sales background, even though he was trading with me, and he's going to be more in charge of sales in the team. Arnaud, on the other side, has more a PhD background in computer science, so he's going to be clearly more on the more technical aspect. But he has also a very good experience in private equity in running projects. And we have also our CTO, which is another PhD in the team, which is going to basically oversight all the dev elements of our project. Beside that, we have a strong team of other devs that I've crossed in my life interest, and we've been through it already in our previous life, and we have a pretty strong team on this part. And we've just teamed up with a marketing firm for the ICO. These are also guys I used to work with before. In this project, basically, a lot of people I'm going to work with. I've worked with them in the past, and it's really something that was important to me. On the advisory part, we have Mo Levin, who organized this crazy conference in Miami a few days ago, with the head of Keynote. And he's been in the crypto conference thing for quite a number of years. So he's quite a famous character in this part. We have also Marcello Mari, who is the head PR of Singularity.net, which was a very big and hyped ICO, a few elements. We have also Justin Jovanovic, who is the CEO of InvestFeed, which is an ICO that succeeded last summer, and is really helping us on, I would say, more diversified aspect. We also have Jérôme de Tichet, who's I would say, our head advisor on blockchain, who's been in this business for a very long time, and he's set up in France the Ethereum Association. And lastly, I will finalize with Harold Kim, who is our advisor for the listing. So you didn't want to touch upon this subject. It's not a priority for us at this stage, but we have someone who has managed to list both NAGA and INS on one of the top 10 exchanges. And that's something we really want to have a hand on. But first, we do the ICO.
Perfect. Yep. No, that makes sense. All right, the next part, I think you've already touched on how Napoleon X was sort of conceived. You touched on that in their background, so I'm going to move into the deeper dive side of things, which I'll give you guys a fair disclaimer. This is not my strong suit, so my questions are a few, and I see that the community has a crap ton more questions than me that go a lot more in depth in the project, which makes me happy to see, which means you guys care and you understand the fun.
Maybe the first question.
So yeah, my first question is what is a DAF? Digit? Yeah, I can't even remember what it stands for. Oh, did we lose you?
DAF stands for
what is a DAF? All right. So can you explain that a little more? Like, what is a decentralized autonomous fund?
So basically, the idea was to reconcile what was done in the DAO, one of these first successful ICO, which was basically a private equity type of fund, whereas we are we have a more systematic approach. But the idea was to have something similar. So that's why we use decentralized autonomous, and then we call it fund as opposed to organization, because in the end it's going to be an investment vehicle, really like a fund that you may find in the traditional asset space. What will happen once our current ICO is done is that you're going to have a token that basically will give you rights to the asset management company revenues and some of its, I would say, more critical information. stage, once we are fully regulated by the French authority, we're going to launch not one DAF, but a series of DAF. Each DAF basically will be indexed, or more precisely, by trading bot. And it will only, this trading bot will only trade a single asset, so that we make it quite simple to understand.
Okay, so one thing that I saw and that I kind of wanted to not get clarity on, but make sure people understand is in the white paper it says that the NPX token allows you or gives you two rights. So maybe kind of touch on those two rights and what because I see a lot of questions from people. What does holding the NPX token do for you, basically? So go ahead and answer that one if you could.
Okay, so you have two rights attached to our token. The first right will be to get the trading signals of our trading bots. And then if you want to trade on your own, you will have the signals. So the signals will tell you when to buy or sell a particular asset. And then it will be up to you to follow these signals and to decide on the size of your asset that you want to trade according to these signals. The second right of our token is basically a revenue right. Trading bot, we're going to launch one DAF, one dedicated DAF. This fund will generate performance. We're going to raise funds outside of the, I would say, the initial pool of investors. Of course, they can participate, but it's not a necessity to participate. And once we have raised money, we're going to manage this money according to this trading bot. It's going to start to generate some performance. 25% will be paid as performance fee to the asset management company. And out of this 25% performance fee, 85% will go to the NPX token holder. So that's a revenue share, basically. Your question number C, maybe is it a token or a security? Because that's the first reaction you should have. Well, yep. Under French law, the way we've structured this transaction, and you have to bear in mind that we're coming from the financial industry and that we have structured a lot of transactions in our past, that we know the regulators, we know the rules, and we know how to play with the rules. So the way we have structured the token is that we have individualized this revenue right, and we have put some kind of option in that, which basically disqualify us as a security under French regulation. That doesn't mean that this would be, or this would not be taken as a security under our jurisdiction, but clearly under French jurisdiction, we are not a security, and we have had a confirmation by our regulator because we had a green light on our ICO by them.
Okay, all right. So in France, you're not a security, but in other jurisdictions, it is possible that your token could be considered a security. Okay. That answers that. All right. So I had a question about the charts. I'm looking at the charts in the white paper right now. And again, I'm a little in over my head. This isn't my strong suit, but it talks about like the sort of the dividends or the, kind of the dividends you would get. And it says here for the total of 100 MPX you would get, for 2018, 2.66. Is that in MPX tokens or is that in like Ethereum?
No, basically the figures you find in the white paper are if you invest 1 Ether, how much Ether you should expect. So it's divided in two kinds of revenue, which are linked to the two, I would say, rights that you have on the security. And of course, to do that, we had to take some assumptions. So for everyone, I would say the result will be different. But in the white paper, we have explained the assumption that we have taken. And then it's up for everyone to use its own assumption and run its own scenario. So you have a first line, which basically tells you how much you're going to trade on with your own assets using our signal and using historical performance on the various trading bots that we have designed. And there's a second line, which is basically the revenue that will be coming from the DAF, so the revenue share that you're going to have from the DAF. So for 2018, for example, we have estimated, and of course, you have a lot of assumption there, so you have to do your own computation. But if you invest 1 Ether, you should expect 2.66 Ether back. So everything that, well, the way also the money will be paid. So if you look at the first line, so the trades that you're going to do, going to be in whatever currency you put in your trading. The second part of it, so the second part, will be payable not in Ether, but in the DAF token, because the DAF are going to be raised or launched through separate and dedicated ICOs, because that's a new way to raise money. Except that this money that is going to be raised in the DAF will be backed by cash. We're going to run a transaction, and we're going to run trading scenarios and trading algorithm. But in the end, you can really liquidate very easily this DAF. So in a sense, the value of this DAF are close to ETH value.
Okay, so one question I have is like this. I'm assuming this 2018 would be over the entire calendar year, right? So for the one maybe fiscal year or whatever, if you invested 1 Ether, you could, and these are all estimates, guys. Like this isn't exact science, right? So it's pretty close, but you expect back 2.66.
Exactly. That's basically estimates. It's for the calendar year 2018. So knowing that the vehicle that we're going to launch, the DAF, will only be launched around summertime, because we need to get this asset management license. Usually it takes between 3 and 5 months to get this license. We have already started the process. We have already engaged with the regulator, first for the ICO, but also for the second stage, which was to set up the asset management company. But even if you start to discuss with them early, there's a process, and basically the process lasts around 3 to 5 months. So we are targeting to launch the first DAF around June this year. But before that, our platform will give access to the trading signal, hopefully within 2 months post the end of the ICO.
Okay, perfect. All right. That explains that question for me. Perfect. All right. So that concludes my questions. There's a lot more from the community, but I just want to continuing on. Are there any sort of partnerships that you guys have in the works, or anything you could announce, anything like that?
Yes. In terms of partnerships, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of partnerships, we have, I would say, at this stage 3 partnerships, and we will have more in the future. There's the first one with the ETH Land, which was announced a few weeks ago, which basically it will be some kind of research partnership, because they are in the business, let's say, of lending. We are in the business of managing money, and you have something that exists in the financial world, which is called repo, which is basically a transaction of lending, but not lending, I would say, on cash, but over securities. So there's an area here that we want to explore, both them and ourselves. There's a second partnership, which is with CoinHouse, which is a French institution which is regulated, which is basically a broker and a custodian. And for our activity, it would be very important to have a partnership with this kind of entity. Of course, we will have more than one, but that's the first one we managed to have an agreement with. And the last one was Aken. It was more regarding our ICO, to make sure that first we've got an audit of what we've done from development point of view, and second, that we have some protection regarding all this hacking thing that you can have in this kind of project.
Perfect. All right. Let's move on.
There's a fourth one that I would like to have, and we're still negotiating with partner, which is a partnership with some kind of a crypto data provider, because we are in the business of analyzing data and trading on data, and that's something I want to develop.
Oh, there is a fourth one, but you just can't release it right now?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I see. All right. Putting the little tidbits out there. I like it. All right, let's move on to the roadmap. So I've got the roadmap on the screen here, but kind of if you can, I mean, they're pretty straightforward, but maybe if you can kind of touch on certain points.
Yeah. So the roadmap is quite easy to understand. First, we raise the money. Second, we get the asset management license. And before getting the asset management license, we're going to release the platform so that people can have access to the trading signal as soon as possible. Fourth, we're going to have the first DAF that will be launched around summertime, and then 1 DAF launch per month until we reach at least the first 10 that we have promised in our black paper.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'm looking forward to getting access to these signals for sure. Okay, the token sale metrics is our next section. I know you guys made some changes, right? Because originally, when I had you on the sheet, I mean, you guys were pegged to a certain amount of Ether, but then Ether skyrocketed. So maybe touch on some of the changes you've made to your token sale metrics.
Yes, in terms of metrics, we have now one token which costs 0.001 Ether, so it's close to $1 each. We have for sale up to 50 million token, cap on our ICO of 15 million euro. So given current Ether price, we would not issue the full 50 million tokens because we would be over this 15 million euro mark. 70% of the total token issuance will be for the, I would say, for the ICO contributors. 15% will be for bounty and advisor with a 3-month lockup period. And then the remaining 15% will go to the funders with a 6-month locking period.
Okay, the unsold tokens from the ICO, are they burned?
Yes, exactly. The unsold token will be burned. They won't be distributed. So to a certain extent, we will be an ICO with something that we wanted to have this way, which is, I would say, unusual for ICO. Usually, you have several hundred millions, even billions, in some cases, of tokens that are usually much below the $1 mark. We decided to have, let's say, another approach to have some kind of premium token, so with a circulation which is much below the normal numbers, but still, in the end, what really matters is not so much the price of one token, but really the market cap. And the starting market cap will be capped at 15 million euro post ICO.
Perfect.
And hopefully going up after that.
Gotcha. All right. This is where we are going to get to the community questions, which there seem like there are a lot. That is great. I love it when the community goes ahead and asks a crap ton of questions. That shows they care about the project. So I'm going to just start. I like to give credit to the person who asked, and here we go. All right, Paime asks, what properties will future DAF tokens have? Is it inflationary by design?
Well, the proprietary basically of a DAF will be to be denominated in one crypto to trade only one asset. And the way it's going to trade will be according to a systematic algorithm. Inflationary by design, yes and no. Yes, because normally all the performance or all the strategies that we put into our DAF are absolute return type of performance. So it should be inflationary, but not really by design. More because we have, let's say, selected the right algorithm.
Perfect. Okay. Sergio is asking, okay, so he's from the French community. He receives quite a lot of politic infos. Okay, one of these, the new actions regarding the government of France against cryptos. They created what some people call a, quote, Ministry of Cryptos to fight against speculation. I wonder the effect that could have on crypto projects in France like Napoleon X.
Well, in fact, if you think about it, in France, I think we have one of the country that is the most open-minded on crypto. Back in December last year, you had the AMF, which is the French regulator, a 1-month consultation, which was called Unicorn. And basically, the idea was to meet all the actors in the sector in order that they assess whether the existing rules are sufficient or not to accommodate this new product, this new crypto product. And by the way, we were one of the first to meet them because on the day they announced this consultation, in the afternoon, we had a 3-hour session. So, and I think there's one of the very few regulators in the world to have come up with such, I would say, consultation really to assess the situation, both from a financial but also from a legal point of view, to say whether they need to adjust something in the regulation to accommodate these new assets, because they are there, so they have to deal with them. Well, they can't hide. So they wanted to understand what do they have to touch, I would say, in the existing legislation to accommodate them.
Perfect. All right. The next question was from Paime again, but I think he pretty much answered it in that remark there. So I'm going to move to the next one. Nayu asks, why not raise money in traditional markets? Alpha generating algorithmic traders don't have issues doing so or getting into hedge funds with enough liquidity.
Well, first thing is that we are already doing so with Napoleon Capital. So that's the first answer. Second, why are we in this crypto space? The idea for us is really to propose products that do not exist in this area, both for existing crypto holders, because if you think about investment vehicle for crypto holders, well, they can either hold the cash, but of course with no return, apart if you value them against dollar, and it can depend on the day you're talking about. Second, they can invest in projects such as ICOs, but it's very risky project. So sometimes very high reward, but sometimes a lot of risk. And they can start to invest in some crypto trend, but that are quite limited in terms of size, so they can't accommodate a lot of, let's say, amount. And what we are proposing are much larger investment vehicle that can accommodate this kind of amount, and that would produce some regular return. Of course, that's my philosophy, but at least you could get some revenue on your cryptos. Also, this product will be of high interest for people in the financial industry, in the existing financial industry, that will need to have access to this crypto investment. If you think about it, in this space, you have around $75 trillion of assets around the world, whereas the crypto universe, you have something like $500 to $600 billion. Maybe in a year's time, we're going to have several $1 trillion of crypto assets. At some point, this asset class will be so big, have no choice but to allocate some of their assets to this asset class. And of course, it's too complicated for them to trade that. So they will go and search for investment manager to design this asset manager of the future, because we want to be able to serve this guy when they will come to the market.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. People have to understand that they're coming, and anybody who thinks they aren't is just behind the 8 ball when that happens. So, all right, actually, I noticed a lot of the next questions are from Nayu, so I'll just go ahead and keep asking them here. On the benefits of token holders, getting trading signals. Did you backtest the signals as of now with all the different timeframes to make sure the strategies are still viable despite the time difference? And as sort of a follow-up to that one,
yeah.
Do you think I'll ask this one after. Go ahead and answer that one.
So the answer, yes, of course, we backtested them. For some of this strategy, we backtested them, I would say, in different markets to make sure that they are robust enough to accommodate various types of markets, which I think, to me, is a very strong demonstration of whether they are good or not. And that's really one of the elements that I usually use in selecting an algo, is to make sure that it's not only fitted to one market, but the very same algo can work for other markets. So that's very important for me. Second, I would say the development on this algo, most of them, I finished them almost 4 years ago. So basically, you have the backtest until 4 years ago, and since then, basically, I've been following them almost every day, and they have almost not changed. Of course, it's a lot about research, but the one we are proposing in this transaction, in this project, have been quite stable over the last 4 years.
Okay, so under the same question, don't you think that sending signals to different user classes at different times is dishonest to small investors, as they would get the signal later? Thus, the larger users would basically front run the smaller users and make money off them. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yes, that's a very good one and an accurate one. I would tend to say, first, we are trading on a very low frequency basis. So Even if you have the trading signal with a few minutes in terms of difference, that doesn't really make a big difference in the end on your trading profits. Second, if you think about it, on the 10 trading algo that we have proposed, 9 of them are on existing traditional assets. And we'll, of course, develop more in the future, and we have put forward one of them. And we are only trading very large and very liquid markets. So, for example, on the S&P 500, if you think that having, let's say, 10 minutes advance the trading signals, and that whales will really move the market because you have these signals, I think you're really mistaken. That's not going to happen like this. Of course, I was proposing algo on small coins, I would say with very low liquidity. Giving this kind of advantage would be quite different. Answer, but basically, I'm not sure it will have a very large impact to have signals, I would say, in advance. If you're, let's say, a big stakeholder in NPX token, I think it's just giving some kind of premium type of service, which you always exist in the financial industry.
All right, perfect. All right, next question from Nayu. Performance fees of 25%. The standard in the hedge fund industry for managers with a provable track record is 20% or less. Why did you decide on 25%?
Well, the very first thing that you have to bear in mind is that we don't charge any management fee on this DAF, i.e., we have costs, and we won't cover the cost if the DAF is losing money. There's no way we're going to cover our cost. So we need to have some kind of compensation for that. And basically, we started with the traditional 2 and 20 fee level or fee standard in the hedge fund industry. We tweaked the 2% to put it at 0%, and we had to increase the 20% to compensate for that. But basically, investors will only pay if we make performance. And by the way, some of, I would say, the very most renowned hedge fund charge much more than 25%. Of course, I'm not comparing myself to these guys, but in the industry, it can happen.
All right. Again from Nayu. Why do token holders only receive botons? I don't know if I'm saying that right. From the activity of the first 10 DAFs. Who will receive botons from the other DAFs? There's a comment after here. Wouldn't a system where the token holders benefit from all the DAFs or the best performing 10 DAFs be more appropriate?
Yeah, you have to bear in mind that what we have proposed in this project is to provide with the first 10 algo that are, let's say, our own algo. What we don't want to propose in our project is only to have our algo, because first, what we have developed at some point could stop working. Because in the market, you may have people that are much more clever than us, and I'm really believing in that. So there will be people that will be much more clever than us. And if we want to attract them, I can say in advance to these guys, regardless of their performance, that they are going to get only 15% of the revenues, of the performance fee revenues. So I needed to keep, I would say, some option open here in order that there can be some negotiation to have, I would say, much better traders coming over to our platform and providing their services to the NPX token holder by launching new DAF on their strategy. But what I couldn't do is basically commit in advance on this 85-15 revenue split. There will be some revenues for the for the NPX token holder past the first 10 strategies.
Perfect. Okay, that answers that one for sure. Okay, continuing from Nayu, about the team reserve. Why is the locking period only 6 months? In order to get a regulatory approval for asset management license, a long period is required. So it's very likely that within 6 months, you'll still be working on getting a license.
Well, I think it's fair to say that we should get the license around May, I would say maximum. Hopefully a little bit earlier than that, but definitely around May. For us, we are not in this business just to make let's say a quick return. We have abandoned all our job, and we really want to develop this company. We've been in this industry for years, and there's no way past getting this license we would get away from the project. Basically, that's our the project of our life. So even if we have a commitment of 6 months of looking on our shares, there's no way we would quit the ship after that.
Okay. This question from Nayu again. It's kind of a half statement, half question. So let me kind of go through it here. So I guess what he or she is asking is, did any of your team actually participate in pure algorithmic trading? Because I guess there's a difference between pure and only LARPing and marketing. Sorry, I'm confused by the question, but he's probably got a good question in there. But I guess he's asking, did any of the team actually participate in pure algorithmic trading? And do they have track records based on that?
So I think you have to bear in mind that all the algo that we are putting forward will be put on the platform, and we already have a demo platform that you can have access, which is accessible at beta.napoleonx.ai. And basically all what we have developed will be put on blockchain and will be certified by the blockchain, as for example Standard & Poor's could do as an index publisher. So except that it's very costly, so we decided to use the blockchain as a third party in order to certify what we are putting forward in terms of projections. In terms of credibility, because basically, I think his question is about credibility. We've been able to convince existing clients, family offices, to have us advising them on trading their own money. So they're putting their money at risk. And we've raised more than 55 million euro in 4 months' time. The first client back in October. And we are on a very, I would say, a high trend with Napoleon Capital, which is the other company that we are running. But clearly, we have been able to convince people on our track record and on basically this paper track record that we have come up with, I would say, backed by the blockchain, so that they can put real money on those one.
All right, perfect. Okay, so the next question, I believe we answered about the regulatory authorities. So we're going to skip to the next one. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, let's see about the sales restrictions disclaimer. So he quotes, participation in the ICO is restricted to natural or legal persons acting within the scope of their professional activities. Any private individual acting on a non-professional basis as a simple consumer, then the meaning of EU Directive 2011/83 EU is excluded from the ICO. Does this okay? So here's the question: is this exactly what it says? The only people acting within the scope of their pro activities are allowed to participate?
No, basically what it says is that we are not covering, I would say, our sales of token. We would say the normal consumer right that you may have, for example, if you want to buy a phone or a computer. Because clearly investing in ICO is not as if you were investing or buying a phone or a computer. And we are just basically excluding ourselves from this regulation because I don't think it's fair that we would be, I would say, that we would be at risk, because everyone knows that when they are buying into an ICO, they are buying into an early stage project. They believe in a team, so they're buying a team. They are buying, let's say, demo product. And we all know that there are some risks associated, and it's as if they were buying some goods or services, I would say, in the normal day of their life. That's just what it says for.
Okay, so looks like this might be the last question. Nayu, thanks. You got the question/comments all in one. So this one's about the strategies presented in the black paper. So why do you think that the low frequency trading generates the most trustable and liquid performance? He says you got some comments on trustable. Data shows that the funds with the biggest Sharpe ratios are the high frequency ones, and on liquid, trading volumes of high frequency activities are way larger than low frequency funds. Maybe you can answer that one.
I think you have several points why we have chosen basically to go for the low frequency trading. First, there are some operational issue associated with high frequency because the more trades you make, the more slippage you have and the more operational issue you may have. Second, in terms of liquidity, basically during the day, the liquidity is fairly limited, I would say, with the order book. While on a low frequency basis, trading at the close of the market, and at the close of the market, this is where the liquidity is the best or is the highest during the day for any kind of market. And that's why we have chosen to go for low liquidity. So less operational hassle. And second, we believe that the most liquidity of the day is usually at the close of the market, not during the day. Now, having said that, it's true that for, I would say, the high frequency trading funds that you may have, the Sharpe ratio usually are higher. But to me, you can't trade the same kind of size because you're moving too much the market. And then there's some kind of loophole between what you may have found in terms of, let's say, signal, and the fact that if you're trading heavily on this signal, you may alter this signal. So that's why we prefer to go on the low frequency scale, I would say, spectrum.
All right. Okay, so that concludes the questions from Nayu. Good questions, my friend. The next question, just keep in mind, guys, if I don't ask your question, it's probably because it's already been answered, so I'm not skipping you on purpose. Next one's from Daniel H. Question relating to vision. Your vision is that stock exchanges will authorize issuance of shares in cryptocurrency, i.e. investors will be able to buy Coca-Cola shares directly in crypto. Your fund is built on this vision and aims to provide investors with a DAF. Your DAF seems to rely on something beyond your control, someone building the exchange, in brackets. What if this doesn't happen or takes more than a few years to materialize?
Well, once again, it's really it will really depend on whether this crypto market develop very rapidly or not. If we look at the growth of this crypto market last year, it was just enormous. I have no clue whether it's going to grow 10 times this year or not. But basically, we already have a few percentage of the total asset market. The cryptocurrency will just be another currency with a lot of, let's say, advantages compared to fiat currency. And I would be really surprised if you don't have this asset market that will start to be denominated in this in crypto. Hold on a sec. I'm just gonna have to put some more power on my computer. I'm starting to run off. I'm gonna have to move. Don't worry. It would be very, very quick.
Yep, no worries.
But basically, I really believe in this development of the crypto market. And what we are just proposing here is I would say, the tokenization of these systematic strategies that we have developed. Nothing else. It might be, let's say, an ad hoc structuring, might not be real shares denominated in crypto, but what we are just proposing is some kind of tokenization of these strategies.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's take a 1-minute break. You go ahead and move your laptop, and we'll give you a chance to get a drink there. We'll be right back, guys. Okay, we're back, guys. Give Stephane a chance to get a drink, get myself a drink as well. So he's moved, he's got some power. We're ready to move on. So, all right, next question again from Daniel H. You propose a 25% fee, I'm assuming, and agree to share 85% of the profit over the first 10 trading bots. Since you already have 20 bots available, shouldn't the 85% not be substantially lower, or is it not calculated on an aggregate basis?
Well, basically, it was some kind of reward of people trusting in us in this project. It's true that we have, I would say, we could have offered less than 85% of the revenues for I would say, our top 10 best trading boats. But we decided that because these guys would be funding us as a company, it was fair to say that we should share a big chunk of the revenues with them. So it's not a gift because we think that with 15% we can really operate the company and make some profit. But it's really a way to reward people that will trust enough on this project.
Okay, perfect. Next question again from Daniel H. Oh wow, looks like Daniel H has a lot of questions. That's good though. Okay, you plan to add more bots, thus, according to my understanding, further dilute the profits of token holders. However, you will only do so after negotiating between MPX token holders. Will this work according to a conventional one share or token equals one vote?
Yes, of course. Basically, the NPX token holder will be really the one driving the strategy of the asset management company that will decide on launching or not a new DAF. And basically, they will have some financial interest in all the DAF that will be launched. So in the end, basically, they will, let's say, build some kind of branding company as if you were, building the new Fidelity or the new BlackRock of the asset management industry, except that we would be specialized in trading boats. But in the end, they will have some financial interest in how we develop the company and the strategy of the company. And the idea is really to have one token, one vote for the asset management company.
Okay, so continuing on in that sense, if it'll use the conventional equity system, should token holders not be worried about the founders and advisors holding 28% of the shares, as 28% would give them significant control of these negotiations?
Yes and no, because 28% is far from the majority. So you can always have, let's say, a big chunk of the NPX token holder that could unify, together and say, well, we don't want what the, I would say, management or the founder wants to implement. And we are very far away from having the majority. So we can always, let's say, be turned down in any kind of vote. And especially if we were to propose something that would be completely unfair to the NPX token holder, we are very far from being able to impose that on those guys. And that's very important for us. We truly believe, let's say, in co-development and not in us, I would say, having all the savoir or all the knowledge and the other basically being obliged to follow us.
All right. Okay. And again, on that theme, does the need for several parties, including a, quote, potential external strategy provider, quote, in the negotiations not take away from the decentralized as well as autonomous aspect?
I'm not sure I'm really getting the question of Daniel here, but the idea for us in terms of opening up to external party is more to, let's say, have more research power and really being able to attract very good traders. I'm not sure that's what he had in mind when he wrote the question, but for us, the idea is really to be able to rely on external party or external forces, especially on the research part, because this is where the value will be created by this project, by this company. As long as you have very performing trading algorithm, the company will do very well, and that's really what's most important.
All right, perfect. So those are the questions. The next set of questions again are from Daniel H, but it regards to the token. So this is kind of, I'm glad, because these are the questions I thought of afterwards here. It's basically asking, I guess, the white paper says you have to, I believe, stake a certain amount of tokens. So up to 999, you get the, yeah, here it is. Up to 999, you get the tokens 30 minutes after close, 1,000 to 10,000 or 9,099. Etc. Can you sort of walk us through how that works? Like, if there's staking involved, etc.
So in a sense, that's I think that relates to one of the questions from Nayu,
that we had before, the idea is to provide some kind of premium service. And why do we want to provide some kind of premium service? Because we don't want to, I would say, have too many NPX token holders. We want to concentrate at some point with some, not, I would say, fairly large hand, but with some decent hand. The tokens, and to do that, we have to give them some kind of incentive. So here we're only talking about, let's say, 1,000 token, given the total supply that could go up in the millions of token. But the idea is to provide some kind of premium services that are usually, or that are traditional for the financial industry. And that's just a gimmick in order to give some incentive for guys to gather some tokens, so that you have also some kind of, I would say, support on the pricing, because some will want to have access to this, let's say, premium trading signal, and they will be able to or will be ready to buy some more in the market to make sure that they are reaching a certain level that gives them this signal. So that's just a way to try to promote the demand on the NPX token, so that we make sure that over time people will buy a little more than what they have at the beginning. Because if you think about it, in the ICO, the minimum amount in the crowd sale is 0.3 Ether, which basically will give you around 350 tokens. What we want is to have people buying a little more, up to 10,000 or 1,000, so that they can start having premium services. And that's just giving rise to a certain demand in the token price.
Okay, so while we're on the topic of the tokens, so it says here in the white paper that the Ether addresses that hold these tokens receive the signals. So I'm assuming these signals come through like either on a platform or through email, etc. I guess how do you tie your Ether address to where the signals go to?
Yes, basically the signals will come out of our platform. We have already, and I've touched upon it before, developed the demo platform, or at least the part that will give the trading signal. So the trading signal will be available on our platform, and basically to unlock this information, because it will be an information on the platform, to unlock this information at the right speed, you will need to demonstrate that you have a certain number of tokens in an Ether address that will be, let's say, stored. Just the Ether address, the public address, will be stored, and with some kind of, let's say, password associated with this address. And that will be just a simple way to unlock, like logging in a password, if you may. That will be sufficient to unlock the information, and then with the information, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, so I see. So it's on the platform, and then. Now, do you have to deposit tokens sort of into a platform address? So
no.
I guess
the token will remain at the token holder address. So there's no transfer of token whatsoever. They will just have to demonstrate that they have some kind of password that is associated in our database with the Ether address. And once, for example, if they want to sell the token, a new password would have to be set for the new holders of this token, but that would be, let's say, managed by the platform.
Okay, yeah, that was my concern, right? Because, say, for instance, I could log into the platform and find the Ether wallet with the fattest amount of NPX tokens and go, hey, that's me.
The token won't move. We won't have access to your private key. It will just be a system of, let's say, login, which will be basically the public Ether address and a password that will be associated. I would say every time there is a change in the ownership of the token.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Daniel again. Questions relating to the target consumer. You state that the main targets are qualified investors with large investment capacity and needs. Have there been any large and qualified investors that have shown interest in NPX?
Well, so far we have had, let's say, large holders in our ICO. I think it's a little bit early for this large financial institution to show interest in the sense of invest in your ICO. every time we're discussing with these guys, and we're discussing with these guys because we have another business that basically involves discussion with these kind of people. They have a lot of interest discussing on that. They know that they will have to invest in the crypto. They just don't know how it works, what it is, and how they will be able to do that. And basically, we are building the bridges to be there when they will enter the market. We're coming from their world, so we understand them. We know how they think. We know their due diligence process. We know that it's a long process to have them coming on board. But we are building all the right, boxes that would have to be ticked once they will enter the market. And as we are, I would say, the only crypto asset manager around, you will have a lot of interest from people. They want to talk with us. A few weeks ago, there was TheGobOne, which is a French asset management company, which announced something very simple, say giving a market access to simple Bitcoin exposure. Nothing, I would say, very complicated there, like an ETF, for example, denominated in euro but indexed on the Bitcoin. Once they announced this product, they had thousands of calls from a financial institution. There is a very large demand and almost no one serving these clients.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, that kind of leads into the next question from Daniel and the next question as well from Just Music. So can you explain what an AUM is and how it provides token holders with a value floor / margin of safety? Yeah, actually, I'll ask that question. That covers it.
Yes. So the AUM is the asset under management. Basically, that's the valuation in this case of a DAF. If you look at a DAF, what will it be made of? It will be made of cash and futures. Futures can be liquidated in seconds, but so basically you're left with a value of cash because the future is very easy to value them on a mark-to-market basis. So in a sense, what a DAF will be, it will be a big cash fund, except that it's going to be actively traded, I would say, according to trading algorithm. But in the end, what really matters is the AUM. That's the size of the fund, the size of your cash, which every time the future is moving, the size of your cash pot is also moving. And that's something that you can track very, very easily. And in the end, how the NPX token holder will earn money, it will be on the size of the fund that is managed times the performance of the fund, and it will they will have a percentage on that. So that's why AUM is very important. That's the basis for calculating your revenue. So what is important is the AUM and of course the performance, because we are going to take 25% performance fee.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Okay, I think we just have one last question from Elias. Are there any information on your platform developers? The current crypto blockchain, quote, experts, he says, profiles don't seem to have a strong background to build a platform like this.
Well, in fact, on this front, we have two developers that are coming from the high-frequency trading environment in large French banks. So they have a good experience in building platforms, especially trading platforms, which is very important. Our CTO has, yes, some kind of academic background, but he has also worked in this environment. He has also worked in a hedge fund industry, and is a very hands-on guy, I should say. What we are also doing, because I would say building a platform is one thing, of course, what we need to operate this platform, there are some, I would say, requirement, and especially some blockchain requirement, because some of the module that will be hosted by the platform will be run on blockchain, especially our index publisher, which will really be, I would say, the central part of the platform. And this is something that we have developed over the last few months. And to help us on this part, we have an expert in this field, which is Jérôme Detichet, our blockchain advisor, which has set up the French association, the Ethereum French Association, a few years ago when it started, and that is really helping us, let's say, on this particular aspect.
Okay, perfect. And we did actually get one last question, it looks like, from Krubenmello. I hope I said your name right, buddy. Why has your collaboration with Chainium stopped? Chainium's a French end-to-end services ICO company, I guess he says.
To be open on this one, just because we were not satisfied of their services. They didn't manage to, let's say, meet timing, and we were not satisfied on the, let's say, marketing part of their proposal. So that's why we decided to part away from them. In terms of resetting the platform, we have reset everything almost on time for the ICO that started today. And second, on the marketing side, we've hired a very professional team of digital marketing experts, and we can really see a big difference in terms of approach. And in the end, crowd sale is really about digital marketing, and we have really real professional with us, and it's, it has the help, especially on the traffic, because in the end it's a question of traffic on your website and on your various, let's say, social media like Telegram, for example. And if you look at where we are coming from and where we are now, we have really gone through an exponential rise in terms of traffic and in terms of brand knowledge by the community. So we are really happy to have taken this risk, because it was a risk. We decided that it was time for us to take our, let's say, our own destiny in our hand, and we find the right partners to help us on this route.
Perfect. Yep. All right. That answers that question pretty good, I think so. All right. We've reached the end of the questions. I want to thank you for your time again, Stephane. I know you guys are super busy. You answered everybody's questions quite in depth, I have to say. So I hope you guys do well in your ICO. It looks like it's literally going on right now, guys. So you can just go to napoleonx.ai and go ahead and check things out. But at this point, I'll leave you with a closing statement if you like.
Yes, so thank you very much for having me today for this session. I think the questions were of very high level. It shows really that people digged into what we have written, and it's always refreshing to see that we are not writing something for nothing, because most of the time when people participate in an ICO, they just don't read the material, which I think is very important when you invest some money somewhere. And just to give you a flavor of how it went today, basically on the ICO, we are close to raising the first third of our max cap, which is 15 million. So we are close to 5 million, hopefully by the end of today. It's been very hectic and very, I would say, heavy traffic at midday. There's a 20% bonus until tomorrow noon CET time. So there is still some room if some of you are interested in our project.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot for stopping by, Stephane. I appreciate the time. Best of luck with the ICO and take care.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Take care as well. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. All right, guys. That was Stephane Ifrah from Napoleon X. Wow, your guys' questions were amazing. I am very impressed with the community questions. I said it from the beginning that this was sort of out of my realm of comfort. So I am glad that you guys basically picked me up and helped me ask the proper questions. This is probably the most in-depth questions I've ever seen on an AMA from the community. So props to you guys. That was unbelievably awesome. I just want to give a quick disclosure. I did invest in Napoleon X in the pre-sale a couple of months ago. I see this as a very good long-term project, and I think the thing people want to sort of understand is that there's a lot of uncertainty on who's going to use this platform, but I think we all can agree that the type of people that are going to use this platform are coming down the line. It's just a matter of when, and it's sort of a field of dreams scenario, like the movie. If you build it, they will come. So I'm kind of glad that Stephane and the team have the infrastructure already in place, and I am pretty excited for this project. Again, it's a very long-term project, and I always invest for the long term anyway. Of course, as I said at the beginning, not a financial advisor, but this is a very long-term project, and I am very excited to see how it rolls out. As you can see, token sales going on, so I hope that this gave you guys some information and shed some light on the project Napoleon X. Take care out there, and I will see you in our next adventure.